also then Judith, who's going to provide the demonstration. For anybody that can't watch in live at this time now, it is going to be available again on YouTube. So even for friends or family, you can say to them that it'll be up on YouTube at some point over the next couple of days. Hopefully, we'll get everything going according to plan. And thanks again to Joanne for getting that set up. So I'll hand over now to Judith, Joanne first, and then Judith, and happy cooking today.
Okay, folks, just before I hand over to Judith, just as Alan mentioned there, I'm going to be recording this session. I'm still getting my head around the best way to do it, but you know, if anybody has any objections to that, just give me a wee shout now. I'm trying to record just Judith, you know, while she's doing her demonstration, but inevitably there'll probably be times whenever some of your names maybe pop up. So just, you know, let me know if you're not maybe happy with that going on to YouTube. Just give me a wee shout. It'll not be put up straight away. So as I say, give me a shout. But without further ado, I'll hand over to Judith. Thank you very much again, Judith.
Hello there. Lovely to meet you all again today. And today we're going to be making a sausage and potato and vegetable bake. So it's a really simple recipe and it sort of incorporates you know, everything that we should be having in our dinner. So some carbohydrates from potatoes, vegetables, and then sausages. So good, I mean, sausages is something that we all like and we're all raised with in this country. So there's no reason why we can't have them in our diet. So what I say is just try and have a good quality sausage. So we're going to use some good quality sausages in this recipe today. So I just went ahead and peeled the potatoes. So I'm using some Queen's potatoes. I just got them down at the local Spar. They're really good quality at the minute. And I am using those. I peeled them and I'm boiling them. So I'm parboiling them first. And then while they're boiling, I'm going to cut the vegetables. And then I'm going to put the vegetables under the grill to, normally I would put them in the oven, only my oven isn't working very well at the minute. And I can't, with the current situation, I can't get somebody in to fix it. Because the man that fixes it is an elderly gentleman and he doesn't want to come into people's homes, so that's fair enough. But the grill just works just as well as I demonstrated last week with the roasted butternut squash. So I'm just going to go ahead and get these chopped up. So we're using, I'm using an orange pepper and a red pepper, and the recipe asks for courgette, but I actually have run out of courgette. So I'm going to use a carrot instead, and actually I nearly prefer the carrot, to be quite honest, because I find that the courgette can sometimes, there's a lot of water in it, and the water can leak out and create a lot of juice, and it kind of goes mushy. It doesn't really roast very well. So, I mean, I think that's one of the things I wanted to sort of demonstrate with these recipes, is that they are very flexible and you can chop and change ingredients to suit your tastes and preferences. And you know, you don't have to stick rigidly to the same kind of recipe, especially with these kind of all-in-one kind of bakes. So I'll just get this chopped up.
Folks, just while Judith's preparing there, just as last week, you know, if you have any questions or if you have anything you want to ask Judith at all, you know, while she's in the middle of preparing things, then just shout or raise your hand or just make sure and put your button off mute. And the other thing is, just if you can't see Judith up, just, you know, make sure you can see Judith up on the bigger screen. You'll see there's like a bigger view, so you should be able to see Judith up, you know, as the main speaker there. She's demonstrating. And if there's any problems, again, give me a wee shout.
I don't have my helper today. He's decided to go with his daddy. But you might see him again. There's a few evening sessions, so you might see him in those sessions. We just got a quad bike, so he's all excited about this quad bike. So as you can see, I've chopped some of the peppers up, and I try and keep them quite chunky. Because you want them still to have a bit of bite to them, but at the same time be nicely charred around the edges and have that lovely sort of roasted flavour. going to use a couple of onions, actually, because I have the recipe it said 6 sausages, but I actually am going to make a slightly larger portion to do us for sort of lunch today, and then any leftovers maybe for lunch tomorrow, or dinner tonight maybe, and any leftovers for lunch tomorrow. So I'm going to add slightly more ingredients to mine, which of course you can do yourselves.
Can I ask, is that red onion? Does it matter red onion or white onion?
It doesn't. I'm going to use a red onion and a white onion, just for colour. It's more to give the colour, and you want to have this lovely vibrant colours to it. The courgette's quite nice because it gives a nice green colour to it as well. Makes it look really lovely. Again, I'm going to keep the onion quite chunky as well.
Folks, anybody cooking along today? Or are we all watching? I think most of us are watching, are we? I've all the ingredients at home. I'm doing mine later on for the dinner when I get home. So
very good. I know it's quite nice to watch and then maybe watch it back, you know, and maybe cook along in the recording. Right, I'm just going to grate the carrot. You can add mushrooms to this. You could use cauliflower. You could use any other vegetables like aubergine that is, you know, easily roasted. There's no reason to stick to the vegetables that are in your recipe. And I think that's the beauty about this as well, is that it suits, you know, it suits any vegetable that can be roasted, or anything that's left in your you know, at the bottom of your fridge that needs used up. For example, maybe an old cauliflower that's gone out of date, or there's any sort of carrots there that you need sort of are getting a bit withered. You know, throw them into this. And then we've got the lovely little cherry tomatoes. They give it a lovely tart but sweet kind of flavour too. So that's what it looks like. It looks lovely and colourful on the plate. And I'm going to put this onto the grill and let that roast now. And then for about maybe 10 minutes, get it nice, quite high heat. Get it nice and charred, and then hopefully the potatoes will be ready at that stage, and we'll place the potatoes in along, and then the sausages on top of that, and then we'll put it back in again. Now, so salt, pepper. Pepper. Salt. Mixed herbs. These are just Italian mixed herbs, but you could use any mixed herbs. Sprinkle. And then oil.
Judith, any particular type of oil, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. Could be olive oil. I'm using rapeseed oil here, just vegetable oil. But you could use good quality olive oil. That's just what I brought out of the cupboard, but I have some olive oil in there. You could use coconut oil. You could use a bit of butter if you wanted. Obviously, it'd be healthier if you stick with the oils because it's less saturated fat. But any sort of fat that's going to help it to roast. The oils are better for you, for your health. Now, I'm going to show you the sausages that I'm using. I got these just from Tesco's actually. They're the Tesco's Finest, and it comes in a pack of 10, so I'm just going to use them all. So they're pork and apple sausages, but they had lovely Cumberland ones, and they had caramelized red onion ones, or just ordinary sausages. So you can use whatever you like. I'm using these pork and apple because they're lovely. Again, you can just get them in the butchers or any sort of supermarket, but try and go for a good quality sausage because there tends to be less fat in them and more meat, and they're less processed. So they're better for us. So while that's just sort of cooking away there, I'll talk a little bit about the nutritional value of this recipe. It's so good because I don't know if any of you know about the Eat Well guide or what represents a healthy, balanced diet. About a third of our diet should come from carbohydrates, so any sort of starchy foods such as potatoes, rice, pasta, breakfast cereals, couscous, bread, and that's our starchy foods, and that provides an energy for our body, and it's very important. It's a fuel for our body, but it's really important to have good quality or good sources of carbohydrates, what we call complex carbohydrates. And complex carbohydrates are those that whenever we eat them, it goes into our body and it's broken down. The starches are broken down into sugar. The sugar is released nice and slowly into the bloodstream, and it provides a nice slow source of energy throughout the day. So complex carbohydrates is more the starchy types, such as potatoes, pasta, but always try and go for the wholemeal pasta or wholemeal rice, or any sort of starches that have a lot of fibre in it, such as beans and lentils, and the starchy vegetables, such as root vegetables, like carrots and parsnips and swede and butternut squash. They are also a good source of carbohydrate and a good source of fibre. The more fibre you have in the carbohydrate that you choose, the more slowly released it is, and the better it is for us and for our, it gives a nice level, sustainable energy throughout the day and between meals, and it prevents you from getting hungry between meals. It's also very good for our gut. It gives our gut and the bacteria in our gut a really good source of fuel to work with. And it's really, the fibres and the starches are really good for a healthy gut, and obviously helps to prevent constipation. So yes, we would advise that we eat carbohydrates or starches at every meal, so it's breakfast, lunch and dinner. So this is obviously has the potatoes in this, which provides us with a good source of carbohydrate and energy. Then obviously the other third of our diet should come from fruit and vegetables, and that accounts for at least 5 portions a day. So at least 5 portions a day. This actually has got quite a lot of different varieties of vegetables, which provides us with different nutrients. We should eat a rainbow of vegetables and fruit and vegetables in our diet over the course of a week. You might not eat them in one day, but over the course of a week. And actually what we should be saying is, what we advise is that we should be having 30 different types of plant foods in our diet a week, which is quite a lot. But this in itself provides us with potatoes, which is 1, peppers, which is 2, onions, which is 3, tomatoes, which is 4, and the carrot, which is 5. So that's 5 different plant foods in this dish alone. And it's very colourful and provides us with lots of different nutrients. So the carrots are a very good source of carotenoids, which is a precursor of vitamin A. So whenever we eat the carrots and we eat carotenoids, our body turns it into vitamin A, which is of course very good for eyesight and repair and maintenance of our eyes. The peppers are a really good source of vitamin C, and what was the other one? The onions is a really good source of fiber and B vitamins. All the nutrients contains a good source of B vitamins as well. Also then, of course, we should have some protein in our diet. We should be having some source of protein about twice a day. And that obviously is coming from our sausages. So that's the pork in our sausages is providing us with a protein source. It doesn't always have to come from meat. Actually, what they've noticed now with research is that we should be eating much more plants in our diet and less meat. But meat is also important. It's an important source of nutrients such as iron and B12. And sometimes it's just not possible to get all the iron and B12 from our diet in a solely vegan diet, for example. So it's important to have some meat in our diet if you choose to eat meat. That's good. But maybe not as much as we do eat. So we would tend to have meat maybe twice a day in our diet, probably a bit too much. Once a day is definitely much better. And if we are going for meat, maybe not have as much as we maybe think we need. So about the size of our palm of our hand. So obviously a man's palm is going to be larger than a woman's, and a child's palm is going to be smaller than a woman's. So about the size of the palm of your hand is about the size of the meat portion that you should be having. Yeah, protein. We should be having it about twice a day, as I said. You could have maybe one of your forms of protein, like nuts, lentils, beans. If you're a vegetarian, you might choose to have protein in the forms of eggs, which of course comes from an animal, not a plant source, but it's still fine. Or cheese, for example. That's a really good source of protein as well. And then also this recipe contains some feta cheese. So feta cheese is an excellent source of calcium. We should be having about 3 portions of dairy a day. And 1 portion is equivalent to about 30 grams of cheese, or a pot of yogurt. So an average size pot of yogurt, about 125 grams, or about 200 mils of milk. Actually, a pint of milk, which is about 600 mils, accounts for 600 milligrams of calcium, which meets our requirements. So if you drink a pint of milk a day, happy days. But if you're not fussed on milk, try and have some cheese, and try and have some yogurt in your diet for your calcium source. Also, it's very good for just milk in general, and dairy in general have been proven. It's been shown in research that if we have an adequate intake of calcium from dairy, it also helps to reduce, well, actually it's supposed to help with weight loss, and they say it's because the calcium binds onto the fat and passes it through the stool into the stool, and it's supposed to help with good weight loss as well. So make sure you have an adequate intake of calcium in your diet. But these are coming on great, these potatoes. Oh yes, what I wanted to say about potatoes was that I cut them up quite small. I'll show you. I cut it up quite small so that it cooks quicker, and also it makes it, it's really nicely roasted as well. So these are actually ready, and I'm going to drain these and let them steam a little minute. They'll go lovely and fluffy, hopefully. char lovely. I'll give it a little stir. And the juices that come off the vegetables give a lovely gravy. You know, like almost like a natural gravy to the dish. Because we're going to add the balsamic vinegar, and that's going to give it a lovely tart but sweet flavour. So this dish is so nutritious. It has lots of fibre in it from the vegetables, lots of vitamin C from the vegetables and the potatoes, good source of starch from the potatoes and the carrots, an adequate portion of protein from your sausages, and some calcium from the feta cheese, and it's also delicious. Any questions while we're waiting on this charring a little bit more?
Any questions, just shout out. Could I maybe just ask, you see that feta cheese?
Yes.
Can you get that anywhere? Can you get that in the Spar?
I got that in the Spar.
Right. Okay.
That's a Spar one in Cullibaggy.
Okay. That's it. Yep.
And I'm going to use the whole thing. I can't remember what the recipe said. I think it might have maybe said 200 grams or maybe 150 grams. This is 200 grams. I'm just going to sprinkle the whole lot on, just so that nothing's wasted. I think that's the beauty about some recipes too, is I'm always a throw everything. I'm kind of a person, I don't really weigh things out very well. But, you know, I like not to waste anything. So if the recipe says, you know, 150 grams, but the packet is 200, I throw the whole 200 in, just so that nothing is wasted. And also it's lovely. Feta cheese is really good for this recipe because it doesn't melt, but it doesn't melt, it just sits in the top and it gets lovely and crispy, and it just has a lovely flavour. And it just, you get these little nuggets of feta cheese in your dish. I'm going to take the sausages out and just get them pierced. So the fat, little bits of fat or the juices from the meat can seep down in to the dish.
I just want to ask, can you use any cheese?
Tommy and Lily, do you want to ask a wee question?
Yeah. Could you use any cheese other than feta if you haven't got it?
I would, you probably could, but what would happen is that the cheese will melt and get quite stringy.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? And it might go quite greasy. That's the problem with cheese. Cheese that melts can go greasy, and then it can be the whole dish could be quite oily.
Right.
So I would say it would be better using a cheese that doesn't melt, such as feta cheese. It's really probably the best.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Any other questions?
Or you could just leave the cheese out. Again, there's no rules. You know, you don't have to have it. It's just really nice with it. It's kind of like, I like this recipe because it's kind of a mixture of Northern Ireland versus Italy. You know, you've got your potatoes and your sausages, but yet you've got the feta cheese, which is like a Greek, actually, it comes from Greece. And then you've got all your sort of kind of Mediterranean style vegetables, such as with the tomatoes and the peppers and it.
I like it because it's all one dish.
I know, and there's no mess.
A lot of bar.
Yeah, there's one dish to wash. And
Yep.
right, this is brilliant. We can get these potatoes in. could use parsnips if you're not fussed on peppers. You could use parsnips. You could use turnip, roasted turnip. Make it a little bit more traditional to this country. It's not a stressful dish either, it's easy. It's not about getting it perfect. You can keep the skins on if you want it as well, on the potatoes. Now, I'm going to put a little bit of oil in a cup. Just sprinkle a little bit of oil over the potatoes so it gets nice and crispy. Where's my... Where's my pastry brush? This is the thing. Where did I put it? Oh well. If in doubt, you use your fingers. I'm just gonna put just a little bit of oil and just on the tops of the potatoes so they go nice and crispy and roasted.
Folks, just while she's doing that, if you're making the dish later on, take a wee photograph of it if you don't mind, and send it into Alan or myself. It would be great to see everybody's dishes after you make them.
Yeah, finished dishes.
Yep.
Put it up onto your social media page and things like that. It'd be really good. Now, I'm just going to put the sausages on top. So this is why you want a really hot oven, so that the juices evaporate and come and make, so that it's not too wet, not too juicy. But you get some lovely juices there. And then just a sprinkle of balsamic vinegar over the top. And then the feta cheese. Actually, I might leave that a minute. I'm going to cook it a little bit first. And then we can put that on near the end. Now's a good time to ask questions. So yeah, these sausages, let me see, I'm just going to look. These are actually 72% pork, which are still quite good. But of course, I mean, if your budget's tight and you can't really afford these good quality sausages, just use whatever sausages you have. It doesn't have to be that. There'll just be a bit more fat in them, so the fat will soak down into the mixture and maybe be a little bit more greasy. But Denny sausages do a good low fat version, which are really not much fat in them at all, so you could use those. But also you could use pork loins, you could use chicken breasts, you could use any sort of meat, some minute steaks. you could use those, and they would still work just as well. Any sort of meat works well. The pork chops are quite nice if you have the end of the fat up and you keep it up out, then it gets crispy. And then the inside of the meat, the pork chop, if you sort of tuck it in with the vegetables and the potatoes, it gets lovely and soft, and then the fat on the outside gets crispy. But you know, any sort of meat, any sort of vegetables, you could use sweet potatoes. I know I've used sweet potatoes before. Again, if you've got anything in the fridge that needs used up, you can literally throw it all into one dish and add the balsamic vinegar, the oil, the mixed herbs, the salt and pepper, and the feta cheese on top, and it'll just be delicious. Has anybody got any? Sorry, go ahead, Joanne.
Right, could I ask you, you see, if I make, as I always do, I always make double at least of recipes.
I'm the same, yeah.
And if I have a bit left over, now does it freeze okay if I was to put it in a wee container just in the freezer or not?
I think that would freeze okay. I've never actually frozen it, but I don't see why it wouldn't. It should freeze okay, yeah.
Okay.
As long as you have it, no, it should. I was going to say, even if you have frozen, you defrosted your meat, it still should be okay to refreeze it, because sorry, I'm going to put my charger. Just bear with me a second.
Okay.
I'm going to pull this back a little bit here. But yeah, even if you had frozen the meat prior, because you're cooking it, it'll still be okay to refreeze.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good.
fair.
Not that there'll maybe be any left, but just in case there's any left, I like to freeze.
Yeah.
Then, you know, for again.
But it should actually keep in the. I'm just going to put this down a wee bit so that you can see me. It should be okay in the fridge for a good while. Yeah. Actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to adjust this so you can see me okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's grand. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, I just need to get that on the charger. Yeah, but this old phone, I went to look about a new phone, and they said in 23 days in 23 days time I can get an upgrade without having a penalty of £60. So I thought I'll write it out to the 23 days and I'll get a new upgrade. But the battery just sort of is being charged a couple of times a day. Any other questions? I'm just going to check this and see we're getting on. I can hear it sizzling away.
Folks, maybe just while Judith is working away there and bringing the stuff out of the oven, I'm changing the subject a wee minute here, just maybe to mention we're talking about healthy living here and healthy food, but exercise, of course, is part of that as well. And we're doing a wee short session tomorrow at 12 o'clock on Zoom. And you don't have to have your video on, but it's a wee exercise thing. And it's a girl, Leslie, from Active Communities. And she's doing it's just going to be about half an hour, 45 minutes at the most. And it's a few exercises just to get you moving. I mean, I think it'll be chair based. I'm not actually sure what she's doing, but it's a bit of exercise anyway. And you're all very welcome to join us. So let me know, or let Alan know if you're interested, or Alan will maybe send out the link to it. It just works the same way as today, where you'll get a wee link and you just press on it and click on it. And as I say, it's a wee short exercise session, and that's all part of our Lunch and Learn, as some of you know and have been to before. Our sessions that unfortunately can't go ahead face to face, but we're doing a number of Zoom sessions to try and keep as many as we can in contact with as many as we can. So everybody's very welcome to that. And as I say, if you want to contact myself or Alan, we'll get you the link sent out to that. Sorry, Judith, go you ahead.
No, you're not a problem. Yeah, just check that there. It's coming on. It's crisping up beautifully, and it's getting nice and charred. So I'm going to give it another few minutes, and we'll stir it and turn the sausages over. And I would say it should be ready in about 15 minutes time. Do you know what? I wasn't sure how long this is going to take today, and So I should have actually had something else to prepare. We could maybe have done a dessert actually today. Oh, somebody answering the question? No. But you know, so this goes to show how quick this is, and you literally put it in the oven. So while it's working in the oven, you could actually prepare like the likes of an apple crumble. So actually, maybe we could do that now. I have some apples in here, and we could do a quick apple crumble and see how we get on, just to show you how quick it can be.
2 recipes for the price of 1, folks. That's good.
I will send you a recipe. I'll send you a recipe. So I've got some Bramley apples here. These are from Armagh. My mum gave them to me. My brother-in-law's from Armagh, and he was able to bring up a great big bag, and they're absolutely delicious. I made an apple tart last night with them. They're lovely. So I'm just going to peel the apples. Of course, you could use rhubarb, although the rhubarb is really sort of out this time of the year. But you could put raspberries in with it, or blackberries. You can go picking for some nice blackberries this time of the year and put it in.
I'm just wondering, is there a delivery service?
I know, I would love to do that.
That could be a new wee venture for you, Judith. We delivery service.
I know. Do you know, funny, I did think about it whenever we were first in lockdown. I thought I could make dinners and send it out to people, and I just never got round to it. You kind of need a good kitchen, I think, or a purpose-built kitchen, I think, to be able to do it in sort of a mass scale. Now, there's 3 apples in a pan here. Small, so it doesn't take long for them to stew.
Judith, is that just in a wee bit of water? Excuse my ignorance. How do you stew? Is it just in a bit of water?
I'm going to stew it just in its own water, and put some sugar in it. And then because when you put the sugar in, the water will leach out, and you don't need to add any more water.
Okay.
I'm just going to get it all chopped up, and then we'll put the sugar in. Apples are so good for you. They are a really great source of soluble fiber. They also have some antioxidants in them, which helps to prevent sort of oxidative damage to our cells. So it helps to prevent cancers and heart disease. So the old saying, an apple a day, is very true. My father-in-law eats about 3 or 4 apples a day, and he's nearly 80. Absolutely nothing wrong with him, so there has to be some truth in it.
Judith, if you can't get, is that Bramley apples, did you say?
Bramleys, but you could use sweet apples. Yeah.
Any kind, really?
Any kind. Like last week, actually, we have an apple tree, and the apples had sort of fallen and damaged, and I just used them to make an apple tart. You would just use less sugar in it, obviously, because they're sweet apples and they don't need as much sugar.
Okay.
This is sizzling away nicely here. My little boy absolutely loves apple tart or apple crumble. So he'll be happy. I'm going to leave that other half one because that's quite a lot. I'll still get the sugar. Now, because they're brownies, you do need quite a lot of sugar. So each one of these is about 1.5 ounces, these spoonfuls. So I'm going to put 2 in. Maybe a bit more for luck. There we go. I'll give it a good stir. This is so seasonal as well this time of year. I'm just going to check the other. Oh yes, this is coming out amazing. Beautiful. I'm going to turn these sausages over. I'm going to try and bring this over, show you. Can you see that there? See the way it's all like crisping up and the potatoes are going lovely and charred. So I'm going to turn the, those sausages kind of look like they're a bit burnt. They're not, it's because of the apple in it. It sort of caramelizes quicker. So I'm going to turn these over. And then I'm going to put the feta cheese on. Smells amazing. Wish you could do smell-o-vision. I'll show you what it looks like.
Judith, do you just put that on kind of the last 5 minutes or something?
Well, the last 10 minutes or so, because the other side I use sausages need cooked. You could put it on from the beginning because it doesn't melt. Kind of looks like snow over the top of it. It melts ever so slightly, like a tiny bit, but it gives it a lovely salty kind of flavour. And that's it with the feta all over the top. So we'll just get this on the grill. How's the sausage? Oh, that one's coming on great. So I'm actually going to switch that off. I'm not going to stew them anymore because I always like my apples to have a little bit of bite. These are lovely fresh apples. You see that okay? Let me try and turn it over like that. Oh, like that. You see it? Maybe it's quite hard to see with the steam coming up. Okay. Now, make a simple crumble. I'm going to use some salt and butter here. Actually, I'm going to use that. And mixture between some oats, and I'm going to use wholemeal flour. Again, it's healthier because it's got a lot more fiber in it. Now I'm going to just go by eye, but I'll send you a proper recipe for this. Oats. Wholemeal flour. Sugar. Butter. You could, I'm going to use my fingers for this, but you could just blitz this into a food processor, and that's actually probably what I would do. But because it's just really noisy, so I'm just going to use my fingers here now. And you just rub this in like you would do if you were making pastry. Might need a little bit more butter in that actually, because you want it to, oh lovely, you want all the ingredients to stick together with the butter. So this is a really nutritious dessert. Yes, there's sugar in it, but it's really good source of fiber. And if you're going to have something sweet, you should have it with fiber, because the fiber helps to slow the release of the sugar into the bloodstream and helps to prevent really high spike in insulin, which helps to prevent sort of any sort of risk of, well, it's just better for our health overall, because sugar has been the one thing that's been linked to a detrimental effect to our health. And they think it's to do with very high spikes of insulin continuously, and it increases our risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes, and obesity as well. So if you can reduce these spikes in insulin by having more fiber in our diet, then that's good. So I'm actually going to have a little bit more butter in that. And then I'm going to sprinkle some nuts over the top. Nuts are so good for us because they are really high in essential fatty acids, which have an anti-inflammatory effect to our body, help to lower cholesterol levels, increase HDL cholesterol, which is our good cholesterol, really good for repairing and our nervous system. The essential fatty acids are responsible for the lining of our nervous system, our neurons. It's good for our brain and our mental health as well. So, essential fatty acids means that they're essential because we have to have them in our diet. Our body can't make them from other fats, so we have to eat them. So that's why nuts are so good for us. I'm just going to check this again. that cheese is so lovely and crispy and brown. Nearly ready. Right, I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Folks, we just have over 5 minutes. Sorry, if anybody's any questions, just shout. We've just over 5 minutes left, so just shout away if anybody's any questions. Mervyn, do you want to ask a question?
No, this is a confession. I was making banana bread last week, and I had the bread sitting behind me on a sort of different surface, and the butter sitting behind me. So I mixed up all the ingredients, and I had everything. It was looking lovely, you know, it was all nice and moist and everything, or wet.
Yeah.
Put it in the oven, and it was cooking for about 20 minutes, and then I turned around and found the butter. So it left out for...
You forgot to put the butter in it.
I did, but it's still quite moist. It's surprising, you know, but it went very brown. So as you can see, I'm a novice cook, so that's why I'm learning here.
Did you have oil in it?
Yeah, there was. It was one of Mary Berry's recipes, so there was oil and eggs, and the bananas were really, really ripe as well too, you know. So and there was a couple of milk in it as well.
You didn't need the butter. You probably didn't need the butter if there was oil in it.
Yeah.
And then the bananas provided a bit of moisture there. And did it taste okay?
Yeah, it's fine. I am eating away at it. So that's the one thing. I'll eat anything at all. So even my failures are still edible. So,
exactly. As long as it tastes nice. But sometimes that's how you learn, is by those kind of failures. That's how people create new recipes, is by making those kind of mistakes as well.
Oh, I make all the mistakes that you can make all the way along. So
I'll be great. Good job. That's how you learn.
You know,
I did make wheaten bread now. I was very successful last week as well. So
oh, good. And easy too, isn't it?
It is very easy.
Mervyn, you're certainly not the only one that's made a few mistakes in cooking and baking. I'm sure all of us had. But it's just
my goodness, yeah.
Learn as we go along.
That is our crumble. Can you see that okay?
Yeah, it's lovely.
Good. And I'm just going to chop up, do I have time? Chop up a few nuts on the top, and then this is very nearly ready. And then I'll put the nuts on top of that. And that's if my husband hasn't eaten them all. He loves nuts. Just mixed nuts. And you can see the way I'm using the same chopping board. That's okay, because there was no meat in this chopping board. So you can just use, it was only ever vegetables I was using, or the same, and fruit. So that's why you can use it.
Just while you're doing that, next week is spaghetti bolognese. Am I right in saying?
That's right. Spaghetti bolognese.
But just to remind you all, I suppose, of next week, the same time, 10:30, and spaghetti bolognese. Looking forward to that one as well.
That's the chopped nuts. I'm going to keep them quite chunky, because you love that sort of caramelized, that sort of roasted nut flavour. And then we'll get the other out of the oven and we'll put this in. Oh my goodness, amazing.
Tommy and Lily, do you want to ask a question? If you unmute yourself there.
Yeah.
Can you hear?
Go ahead.
Did you ever get the amount of the wee oil capsules that you talked
Oh
about?
yes, that's right. You want to do that? Yes. So what you need is, I'll tell you now, and then I'll email Joanne. What's that? Sorry.
Have you the name of the one that you would get? There's so many different.
Oh, the name of them. Well, there's so many different brands. Holland and Barrett do one. There is one called Nature's Life. What is it?
Yeah.
Can't
The Holland
remember.
one.
But I will, and I'll do that straight away now. Once we're over, and I'll email Joanne, and she'll get that to you.
Just to get the
And
right
I'll
one.
give you three different brands that you can buy. That do? And then I'll put the links to them on the email, and then she can forward that email to you, and then you can click on the links.
That's lovely, thank you.
All right, no problem. Now, we've got it ready. I don't know. Oh, bear with me. I'm just going to take this off the charger a minute because. Can you see this okay?
Yeah. Just a wee corner off it.
Oh, can you see it now?
Round another wee bit.
Like that?
Yeah, we can just see a wee corner off it. Come back another wee bit. Nope. That's it now. Yeah.
That's it.
Looks
Do you
good.
see it?
Mm-hmm.
It looks really good, doesn't it?
It does.
And the potatoes here, you can see the potatoes are lovely and crispy, and then the feta cheese is going lovely and crispy as well. And the sausages have all cooked beautifully. So I hope you find it successful, and let me know how you get on.
Great. Judith, thank you very much. I think we have a wee question here from Tommy, Tommy Lilly. Just unmute yourself there, Tommy. That's you. Go ahead.
Where's Judith live at? We'll be all around later.
I was thinking that.
I think you're right. We would all land on your doorstep. It looks lovely. Absolutely lovely. Folks, is anybody else?
Sorry, I couldn't hear you there. What did you say? I missed that there a little bit.
Where do you live?
He's asking where you live. He says, I'm going to appear at your door.
Oh, is he coming over? You're very welcome. Come on ahead. I wish you could smell what I smell.
Folks,
I'm just going to put you in the charger again because I'm wondering, is this... Hello? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, that's grand.
Hello?
Great. Well, listen, Judith, thank you.
That's better now. Sorry.
That's great. Thank you very much. That was great. Hopefully that's inspired you all to go and do a wee bit of cooking, and certainly I will later on whenever I get home. Maybe just, if Alan doesn't mind, I maybe just wanted to mention very quickly, I'm doing a bit of shameless plugging here. Through Banmean West, we have some lovely Christmas cards. These ones are of, well, there's a range of ones, but these ones are of, it's in Randallstown Forest. They're only £1, very good quality, and all of the money goes back into charity again. And we also have coming up to, especially now coming up to Remembrance Sunday, we have a great history book which was pulled together with the help of Alan and his father Hubert, and also Damien Clark from Portland. A great group of volunteers who came together and put together this book, which is stories about people who were involved in World War I from our areas, from Hillstown, from in and around all of those areas. So if anybody's interested in one of those, they're £7. It's a very good quality book. Just give us a wee shout, myself or Alan. I'll pass on to, sorry Alan, I shouldn't be pushing everything whenever I'm on, but I'll pass on to you. I'll shut up now.
No, you're fine, because I was thinking of doing the same thing. So yeah, that's perfect. So thanks again to Judith for this morning's cookery session. And I was wondering, is there dessert goes along with spaghetti bolognese next week?
Well, I'll have to think about that one.
Very good. When we were in
Tiramisu, ice cream.
yeah, well, tiramisu. We were in Rome last year for a few days, and down the street, it was like an ice cream shop, but it wasn't ice cream, it was a tiramisu shop. And they had different flavors of tiramisu. So they had a strawberry tiramisu, which was quite nice. So yeah, you can research that for us.
And it's coffee kind of thing, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
I could maybe do some garlic bread or something with it instead of dessert.
All right, okay, yeah. Well,
yeah,
it's up to you, whatever you think you can do. Yeah. So, no, looking forward to that.
Try
So,
that.
thanks very much again, Judith, and thanks to everybody else who tuned in, and see you all again next week. And again, if you know somebody else that wants to tune in and watch it, send them on the link details, and they can tune in as well. So,
yeah, definitely.
So, thanks again to everybody.
Everybody, welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great
Back
job.
to you, Joanne, anything else you want to say? Or
I don't think so, other than come and join me tomorrow at 12 o'clock on Zoom for a wee gentle exercise session. After all this cooking you're going to be doing, you'll need a wee bit of exercise. So we'll get the link sent through to you. And again, you can pass that on to as many as want to do it. So certainly if you can, come and join us at 12 o'clock. All right. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thank you. It's a pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.